So in this segment, we're going to be talking about Sajid Javid being grilled over the £350 million for the NHS that we were promised when we left the EU. So this is a blatant lie, and essentially the UK has lost a lot more money than £350 million a week, because that was not the net amount, that was the gross amount. I think the actual number we gave the EU to be a member was about half of that amount, but obviously, Vote Leave went with the higher amount because people don't do the research, and what that means is they're much more easily susceptible to lies. So we get into the article, and Nick Ferrari, a guy who's not known to be any lefty, I think he's a bit of a Tory fan himself, has done great work here. Has done really great work, I can't lie. So this is the moment Nick Ferrari challenged Health Secretary Sajid Javid over a £350 million a week Brexit promise, and things got heated. So after the Prime Minister announced a manifesto busting plan, he broke his own manifesto to raise national insurance by 1.25% to fund social care. A couple of years ago, we were told that if we left the European Union, we'd be saving £350 million a week. That would go to the NHS, that tens of thousands we've saved. Where is it? Why do we need the additional funding that we've left the European Union? So great line of questioning, which is, where's the £350 million for the NHS that we could use? That's every week, by the way, they said. We give the EU £350 million a week. Let's use that to fund the NHS. Great line of questioning from Nick Ferrari here. So blaming the pandemic, the Health Secretary said the additional money which would have gone to the EU, it hasn't been enough to meet the challenges. So what Javid is saying is, we put that £350 million in a week, but that wasn't enough, which is a lie. And we'll discuss why that's a lie after we get through this kind of interview thing. The conversation comes up after the Prime Minister took a gamble by scrapping the 2019 election promise. A big gamble from him, to be fair. Pointing out that the Health Secretary was a former Chancellor, Nick Ferrari said £350 million a week since January last year is tens of billions of pounds. Why isn't it bailing out the NHS? Or is it another lie from Boris Johnson? Just as the lie in his manifesto, there is no £350 million a week. There are no promises. You cannot believe a word that comes out of a Conservative's lips. So what he's done is great stuff here, because he's saying that you've broken your manifesto pledge. You've potentially broken your £350 million a week to the NHS pledge, which they have done, by the way. That one they can't deny. Is it the case that we cannot believe anything that comes out of the mouth of a Conservative? So he's trying to tar the whole party here, not just Boris Johnson. So this is a good line of questioning. The Health Secretary's response was not at all pushing the government. Minister Nick asked, where is it then? Again, heaping the blame on the pandemic, the Health Secretary said the promised money and much more has gone into health and social care. The issue is that that money wasn't from the money we gave to the EU. That was borrowed money, hence why the UK debt went up so high, and our borrowing as a percentage of GDP. That wasn't the money we, quote, saved from the EU. That money's being paid to the EU in the divorce settlement. That's going to happen. So that money's never going to appear regardless. Under the new levy, a typical basic taxpayer earning £24,100 would pay £118 more a year, while a higher rate taxpayer would on £67,100 would pay £715 a year. So these arguments, Nick Ferrari did a good job here, but there is a lot more he could have done. Even Dominic Cummings saying that, the £350 million should be used to fund the NHS. Well, if that's the case, I'm sure Dominic Cummings could answer where that £350 million has gone then, if it actually exists. So Dominic Cummings believes the Health and Social Care Fund should have come out of the £350 million a week for the NHS, which was promised by the Vote Leave campaign, answering a question by the London Economic as to whether the Brexit bus promise would have been a more appropriate funding strategy. Cummings replied, obviously. He said tax increase, which is set to impact on the younger and poorest, is very bad policy and politics. Well, the question I would ask Dominic Cummings is, where's the £350 million gone then? Has that been put towards dealing with the debt and deficit? Or is it the case, as we know, it doesn't actually exist and was a massive lie from the start? He's saying we should not attack the wealthy, because obviously he wouldn't want himself and his family to be attacked, would he? But he also said in his blog that we should not attack the wealthy, whilst admitting there is no justification for some of their subsidies, saying they should be eliminated. Okay, so he supports getting rid of subsidies for richer people. Great stuff. I'd agree with him on that. He also warned all eyes will be on universal credit, which is horrible, considering that the government, I think, have cut the £20 kind of extra that they gave in universal credit. So no, cutting universal credit is very stupid politically and economically and socially. Like, across the scale, people are desperate. They need that money, and that money goes back into the economy to support other sectors. Very stupid to do this. Very, very stupid. He said there's a massive scope for savings, but no appetite from the Prime Minister. Also, it's not just him. Remember, almost all Tory MPs who scream savings, low tax, then oppose every specific cut. Watch when that happens on UC shortly. So he's saying Tories typically, believe in low tax and oppose the cuts to universal credit, which most of them don't do, by the way. A lot of them do support cuts. Some of them won't be as open because they know that they still need to win certain voters. But anyways, before we ramble on too much, let's not forget here that there's a huge settlement for our departure from the EU. That's around 41 billion euros a week, 37 billion pounds, extending out to 2024. So this is where pretty much that 350 million is going to go, if it did exist in the first place. So we have to deal with that. That will go out, I think, in terms of kind of weekly payments. We would pay that to the EU as part of our kind of agreement to be a part of the EU budget, which ran from, I think it was 2013 to 2020. So this number is slightly off the 37.1 billion. I think the EU have put it slightly higher, and that's under kind of disrepute at the moment. I did cover that I think last month, I believe. It might have been in July, actually. I might have covered it. But there is some discrepancy with the OBR and the government saying that number should be lower than the amount the EU announced. But we'll get to that when it happens, whenever that discussion comes up. But yeah, you can see whether it's 37 billion or 32 billion pounds, that's where, this mythical kind of 350 million pounds on the side of the bus will go. Let's not forget that, Goldman Sachs have said that the UK Brexit is costing Britain 600 million pounds a week. That's, that's almost double the 350 million pounds. So with the UK effectively has lost 600 million pounds a week because of Brexit. Different studies differ. A number of these studies using different baskets of comparable economies show a gap in the UK's economic performance opening up after the referendum as a result of losing businesses. And let's not forget, some more businesses are yet to leave. And these studies indicated Brexit damage by the end of 2020 between 1 and 2% of GDP, between 20 billion and 40 billion. That, to put it in terms of favoured by the vote leave side during the referendum, equates to a loss of between 400 million and 800 million pounds a week, and that was in 2019. That was before COVID hit the Western world. So the UK has lost around between 400 to 800 million pounds a week, which dwarfs the vote leave 350 million pounds. So even if that money did exist, it's gone through because of the financial settlement we came up with the EU, and also the fact that we're losing around 400 to 800 million pounds a week because of Brexit. So this money didn't exist in the first place. So for anyone touting that number, Nick Ferrari has done some good work here, but what I would want him or anyone else to do in the future is look at these numbers to say that Britain has lost this amount in 2019 because of the Brexit uncertainty. So that 350 million pounds, which didn't exist in the first place, let's not get it twisted now, it's closer to I think it's closer to around the 200 million pound mark that we paid for EU membership, which some of that did come back to us in terms of pensions and liabilities. The rest of it went to funding certain projects within the country. Cornwall to get just 3 million replacement to replace the 100 million that they would have been eligible for had we remained in the EU. That's where the rest of the money was going, towards the UK. So what can we learn from this video in conclusion? It's a bit longer and rambling. Let me just have a quick look. How long we've been going for? Around the 10-minute mark. It's not too bad. Point being is that the 350 million pounds figure that we gave the EU every week, that was a gross figure. I think it was closer to around 200 million pounds net. So the figure itself is a myth. Let's get that. Let's be serious about that now. That money is all lost because of the settlement the UK came up with the EU for us to leave. So we know that money's gone. You're talking billions of pounds here. 37, so we'll say between 32 billion and say 40 billion. We'll put the numbers around there. That's how much the UK has lost because of Brexit. That's the direct implication that we have to pay into the EU's budget. Then we look at the economic damage Brexit has done. You're talking potentially £600 million a week, according to Goldman. But according to other studies, you've got between 400 and 800. So that dwarfs the figure that the Vote Leave campaign had from the start, which was wrong, and then further dwarfs the actual number, which is around £200 million a week. So this whole thing about the £350 million, I know why they're running with it, because it's in people's minds. Some people remember the bus, but and plus it makes the government look worse because it's a higher number the NHS should have gotten. The thing I would stress is that this whole thing that's happening right now is an absolute joke, and this idea that money was ever going to the NHS was a myth in itself, and a lot of people should be ashamed over that. And I would like to see a lot more interviewers pull up government ministers and say, you said there'll be £350 million going to the NHS every week. Where's the money at? What about the money we've lost through Brexit? In terms of financial services, in terms of agri-foods, in terms of exports in general, all that money lost. Where how does that factor into the money that we could have essentially had? 1 to 2 billion, 2 billion lost by the agri-foods industry. Billions lost because financial services are leaving us and have left us. Between 400 and 800 million pounds a week we have lost, and that's just in 2019. There are still firms leaving the UK because they can't do business with the UK's largest trading partner, the EU. And yeah, before I get at risk of continuously rambling on here, good questioning from Ferrari. I think you can do better. I think you can do a lot better. But yeah, it's a good line of questioning, especially from a guy who isn't known as a lefty as well. He's more of a kind of, I think, a centre-right kind of guy. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Unlucky Javid, mate. I know you're a Remainer, but you chose to work for the Demon Clan, and you're about to get hit with the holy water, essentially, of scrutiny. Anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Support on Patreon if you can. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one.